You know that feeling, right? That dizzying, all-consuming, can't eat, can't sleep feeling when you're falling in love? I mean, it's been the subject of poems and songs for centuries. But what if that incredible, magical feeling is also a really powerful biological process that's happening inside our brains? Let's dive in and explore the science behind it all. So today, we're going to look at the science behind one of the most powerful human experiences there is. We're going to break down the neurochemicals, the hormones, and the parts of the brain that turn that first spark of attraction into a deep, lasting attachment. So is love just a trick of our biology, or does understanding the science actually make it even more amazing? I just love this quote because it perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? Being completely sideswiped by an emotion. But just like the quote says, behind that chaotic, out-of-nowhere feeling is a surprisingly orderly and, predictable biological process. Okay, so let's get one thing straight right from the start. We might send heart emojis and talk about having a broken heart, but the real action, it's not happening in your chest. Nope, it's happening right between your ears. For centuries, the heart's been the go-to symbol for love. And for good reason. It pounds like crazy when your crush walks by. But science is pretty clear. The heart is just responding to signals. As you can see here, the real command center is the brain. It's the source of all those warm, fuzzy feelings, and it's orchestrating this whole complex cocktail of chemicals that drive our desire and our need to connect. To make sense of all this, we can break it down into 3 distinct stages. These were identified by a team of scientists led by a Dr. Helen Fisher. First, you've got lust, that's driven by sex hormones. Then comes attraction, that obsessive, totally lovesick phase. And finally, there's attachment, which is the deep bond that keeps couples together for the long haul. We're going to explore all of these, but we're starting with that really intense, all-consuming stage, attraction. All right, let's dive into that second stage, attraction. This is that period of intense infatuation, where you feel like you're literally walking on air and you just cannot think of anything but your new partner. Scientists have a fantastic name for what's happening in your brain during this stage. They call it a neurotransmitter storm. It's this intense surge of chemicals that basically floods your system and makes you feel completely out of control. And it's driven by 3 key players. First up, you've got dopamine. This is the brain's pure reward chemical. It's what gives you that giddy, energetic, totally euphoric feeling. Every time you think about your partner, your brain releases a hit of dopamine, telling you, yes, this is good, do more of this. It's a super powerful motivator that just makes you want to be with them. Next is norepinephrine. You can think of this one as your body's own natural energy drink. It's responsible for that extra surge of adrenaline, making your heart race, your palms sweat. It's also the reason why you might find you can't eat or sleep. Your body is just in a state of high alert, totally focused on this new person. But this third chemical, serotonin, this is where things get really fascinating because unlike the others, its levels actually go down. See, low levels of serotonin are also found in people with obsessive-compulsive disorder, and researchers believe this dip is what causes that obsessive, all-consuming infatuation that is such a hallmark of early love. It's the chemical reason you literally cannot get them out of your head. And look, this isn't just some theory. Neuroscientists have actually seen this in action. When people in the early stages of love are shown a picture of their partner while in a brain scanner, the reward centers of the brain, this deep, primitive part called the ventral tegmental area, they just light up. They fire like crazy. In fact, the brain activity is so intense and so focused on these reward pathways that a lot of scientists compare it to a natural form of addiction. The very same neural circuits that get activated by romantic love are the ones involved in substance dependency. It just goes to show you that the intense feeling of craving your partner has a real, tangible, biological basis. But let's be honest, that crazy, obsessive, high-energy phase, it can't last forever. I mean, it would be exhausting. So if a relationship is going to last, the brain's chemistry has to change. It's got to shift from that frantic energy of attraction to the calmer, more stable bond of attachment. So what happens? Well, the whole relationship transitions from that dopamine-fueled roller coaster ride to something a lot calmer and more stable. And this is where 2 other hormones get to take center stage, oxytocin and vasopressin. You can think of these as the bonding hormones. They shift the whole focus from the thrill of the chase to the deep comfort of a real partnership. Oxytocin is probably the most famous one. It's known as the cuddle hormone. It gets released during moments of physical intimacy, things like hugging or sex, but also during childbirth and breastfeeding. Its main job is to create a deep, deep desire to bond with and nurture another person. It's really a perfect example of how simple physical closeness can chemically deepen our emotional connection. And we can actually watch this transition happening inside the brain. It's amazing. In one study, researchers scanned couples right at the beginning of their relationship and then again 6 months later. At first, the part of the brain linked to intense rewards, the caudate nucleus, was super active. But after 6 months, that activity had calmed down. And instead, another area, the cingulate gyrus, which is more about empathy and long-term attachment, had become more active. Love literally evolves inside our brains over time. So, if we understand the chemistry, does that mean we can use it to our advantage? I mean, can we consciously hack our brains to build stronger, longer-lasting relationships?
Well, the science suggests, yeah, kinda. By understanding which hormones do what, we can be way more mindful about our behaviors. We can actually create the conditions that help our relationships thrive, helping them move past that initial storm and into a really lasting bond.
So, how do we put this into practice? Well, first, to keep that reward circuit firing, you gotta keep the dopamine flowing. That means trying new and exciting things together. Think of it as deliberately recreating some of that initial thrill. Then, to build that deep bond, you need to nurture oxytocin, and you do that through physical touch and emotional intimacy, hugging, kissing, sharing your dreams. The key is just understanding that love evolves, and we can actively support that chemical transition from passion to partnership. And that brings us right back to our big question. Does knowing that love is a storm of dopamine and norepinephrine and oxytocin, does that take away the romance? Or does it make it even more profound to realize that our bodies have evolved this intricate, powerful system designed to help us find a partner, connect deeply, and build a life together? It really leaves you wondering, is this biology's greatest masterpiece?